You're now listening to the Adiel Gorel Show. Each episode, I'll bring you the latest news from my discussions with top health and wellness experts so that you can bring yourself into better health. Today, on the Adiel Gorel Show.
There's your lifestyle, which is your routine, and then it's the style by which you live. And if you can put more space between the density of the body, because if you have strength to accommodate each of the vertebrae or strength to support keeping the joints fluid and flexible like a hinge, then the body does not age.
Yes, the word symmetry I find quite important because I love the description. The foundation of synergy is built on body awareness, balance, agility, symmetry, strength, and flexibility. So yes, symmetry. Obviously, when I'm down there, my two sides are not the same. I have a dominant side, I have a stronger side. Symmetry is good. Now, when you talk about a golfer, one-sided, a tennis player, one-sided. So, all of those things, symmetry is critical. I think this is quite fascinating. Now, I can say, once I, as a user, or one of our viewers, has a little set of routine exercises that they learn to do, once again, I strive on this podcast to make things available to all of us that are hopefully not expensive, that we can do on a daily basis at home. For me, I have a physio ball, I have a strap, and then I also got a cylinder, one of those, and that's all. I believe, looking at the work I've done with you so far, I would not need a gym membership. Well, I have a gym at home anyway, but you know what I mean? It's quite fascinating. Now, you have developed this in 1995. Well, that is 28 years ago. When you were one. As a baby, you were starting to work on it. So, what are some of the most striking results that you've had with people in the 28 years?
Well, yeah, several interesting opportunities that I've had to work with people. I had a client whose husband was going to have back surgery. And I said to her, that's a really big deal because once you have back surgery, you never know what's going to happen. And I said, I'd be happy to work with him twice and just let him see if something starts feeling different as he lengthens and strengthens the muscles to accommodate the back, to give the back more space and malleability. Because when there's not space and malleability in the vertebra, pinching a nerve, extraordinary pain. And so what this work does is it goes to that core or the place where there is either impingement or there's some challenge. And so that's exactly what this gentleman was able to do, is to do synergy twice a week. And he did it for 30 minutes, twice a week. And he is living a healthy, active, vital lifestyle because he didn't realize how critical it was to have flexibility and strength in a balanced way so that his back could feel fluid like a net. And so that was one of the great possibilities. I also have a client who is 96, and I met him in the pool, and he said, I think I'm going to continue to improve. So why don't you show me how to have better balance and coordination so that I can keep improving my fitness goals? And so I went to his house and we have a ball and the bands, and he works out regularly, both walking and swimming. And he realized that when he uses a walker and when he swims, he doesn't use his own body awareness for the coordination and balance and agility. And now he's able to do that much more confidently. So instead of thinking, I hope I don't fall, all of a sudden there is something inside of him that has self-assuredness. And I think that's very, very true for all of us because, with it being winter, you can easily just slip on something, whether you're getting out of the shower or you walk out in a parking lot. I mean, life is full of obstacles. And if you have the reflexes and the core and the ability to catch yourself, I mean, it can really prevent broken bones, injuries, and challenges that we don't even know could occur. So I think that health assurance approach is so key because if you don't need health insurance, it's a wonderful thing to have a good plan for health assurance. And so both proactively and therapeutically and performance as well as just lifestyle, vitality, health, and wellness is key. It's priceless. Because if you don't have your health and you don't feel good, how wonderful can your life be without feeling great?
Okay, so I mean, I'm a listener to this podcast. I'm driving in my car. I listen to this. I say I'm intrigued. I can get work done that'll give me balance, symmetry, flexibility, strength, and I don't need much. I can buy stuff very cheaply and can do it at home. Of course, I want to be trained. Now, Janel, I know you're based in Northern California, and because I'm also based in Northern California, I was fortunate for us to actually meet, and you trained me a couple of times. I would like to be trained another 1 or 2 times, but I feel you already gave me a certain base of stuff I could do, not the least of which are those short videos that I can use. So I listened to you talk before, and you talked about, well, we have people that are listening to this from all over the world. You can train somebody by Zoom.
Very
right?
easily. Yes, right. Because I'm either standing there watching you at the gym and coaching you, or I am on the Zoom and you are responding to me, seeing me give you an example. And of course, there would be the consultation and the conversation to begin with the equipment that you would need and or the approach that is best suited for what your goals are and your needs.
Okay, so I mean, that is very good to know and very good. I mean, the pandemic, of course, we would rather not have had it at all, but the silver lining is that everybody got used to doing a lot of stuff via video remotely, which is a benefit. So once again, if I'm listening, if I'm watching, and I wanna, get trained, I go to synergybyjanel.com, and then from there I can reach you and get some lesson or 2 or 3 and get going, yes. Right? Is that what I need to do?
Right. And what works great with people who are very motivated is that you start with a program and it meets all of your criteria for beginning. And then you continue to do it. You might check in with me to make sure you're doing it correctly. And then all of a sudden you realize you're ready for the intermediate step. And so it's also great because it helps you continue to improve. And with new exercises, it continues to bring new life and new flavor and new creativity to your workout, so that you always have something that you're working on mastering, and that brings you to a place where you want to strive to find that next level of fitness or accomplish your goal.
So that is very good and very comforting to know. Now, are you still a triathlete? Do you still compete? Do you just train as a triathlete? Where are you now?
I am retired. I retired in 2000 when I accomplished my goal of being in the zone, in that flow for the length of an Ironman. And so after 10 years of pretty intense training and working on the inside out and the outside in, I accomplished that. And so when I did, I said, this is a good time to leave on top and to feel that this is a wonderful gift that I used my body and my mind and orchestrated both science and the art of performance, which is lifestyle is performance, because how you lead your life is really as much of an internal process and journey as it is an external one. And so what Synergy does is it also blends the mind and the body, because doing an Ironman, which is a 2.5 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a marathon 26.2 miles, believe me, the monkey mind tries hard to interfere. And that monkey mind and the statements inside of the mind are always active for all of us. But what the pivotal moment is what we do with what's happening inside, and how do we orchestrate and become the master of the mind so that the mind can be in good relationship with the body. And so whether you're doing your own lifestyle work or whether you have a goal in mind, it's something that always improves the quality of your life from the inside out and the outside in.
So in your daily movement of your body, I assume because of your triathlon background, you still ride, run, swim, because you're in the flow of those things. But it's interesting that you retired from the competition. You still use those movements.
I do.
And you use Synergy, but those qualities that a very good triathlete needs, like the very top ones, it's not just how your body is. There's something where you need to conquer, as you called, the monkey mind, So I assume that those qualities would carry over into everyday activities in life.
Adiel, precisely. And that's exactly why if you find a practice that works for you, it carries over through everything. Because if you learn in a focus where there are many things going on at one time, exactly as you described in Synergy, it requires focus, one-pointedness, concentration, but yet you're also aware of what you're stabilizing while you're moving, keeping your center while you're moving outside of your center. So there's that simultaneity of opposites. And the world is made up of that. So how can we orchestrate and navigate in the midst of that? Helps both keep the mind fresh, vital, and healthy, as well as the connection of the mind sending messages to the body to respond appropriately. How to be in response mode, to stay in our equipoise while things are coming up that surprise us, so we're not in that primal state of fight or flight. So it carries over in health and wellness in so many ways, because when our system is in what I call equilibrium, then we are operating in the most efficient way. And so our heart remains relaxed, our nervous system is relaxed, our stomach is relaxed in a way that we're digesting food, our mind is being discerning and very active and alive, so we're using our left brain and our right brain. So learning, growth, creativity, productivity all increases through one practice.
If I jump back to the performance of the Synergy work, I mentioned the physio ball, and so did you. I mentioned the strap, the flexible strap. And now it occurs to me that a lot of stuff can be done even without the physio ball, only using a flexible strap. Now that makes it even more highly portable, because a strap, you can take it in your carry-on luggage, it's nothing. And you can use the strap on a stairwell rail, you can use it on a doorknob, it's everywhere. So now you have taken this very simple yet a comprehensive mode of movement and brought it everywhere we are. Is that
precisely?
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, when I've gone to India and there's nothing, I take my strap and you can always find something stable, whether it's a rail or a post, exactly like that. And so, I mean, it's like, bringing a scarf with you. And so I've always traveled with one of my resistor bands, because a lot of times when you're traveling, you end up getting stiff. And so it actually is something that is a catalyst for opening and expanding the joints, the contraction of sitting for a long period of time or being in positions that your body's not used to. So sometimes it just enhances the quality of your life while you're traveling, doing things that are not particularly easy or that require more energy and body stillness for a movement.
Well, I was inspired by the 96-year-old guy who tells you he wants to keep improving. Normally, when people are at 96, they don't use this kind of language. So that is very nice. I mean, wants to keep improving. But I feel that there's a lot here that's simple, inexpensive in terms of equipment, doesn't take lengthy. So that's why I wanted to make it available and introduced to our viewers and listeners, because I think there's a lot here that we can use. I myself feel like I've barely scratched the surface, but I was intrigued and still am, and my aim is to do something that's very unintimidating, and I think our viewers can do the same. Take a couple of things that are not hard to do and start doing them. As you said, gain a little mastery in doing them, then take a couple of other things, then I can turn to you and say, okay, what's the next thing I can learn? Just like you said. So I feel like it's also not an intimidating, oh, this is not for me type thing.
And I think there's also a mindset, Adiel, is that the feeling and the inner inspiration of never stop improving. Because as you look out in nature, everything is an organism when we're an organism. And so we have the potential to continue to grow and change and transform and to become more dynamically alive and well. And so for me, because I don't have a race or a starting line to aspire to get ready to, I have this motivation to keep improving my health and my wellness. And so even though chronologically I'm getting older, my goal is to keep getting younger. And so I think that works for all of us because there is a way. And that, to me, that's what this is a hack for.
Somewhat philosophically, I think that mindset plays a big part. I think about your 96-year-old, but I think more importantly is you think about people in their 60s. Some of them could be athletes, some of them could be very dynamic and bursting with life and enthusiasm. And they don't stop for a second to say, oh, I'm 64, or I'm 69, or whatever age that is. And some of them say, no, I'm 65. My God, I'm on Medicare. That's it. So, I just remembered something that I haven't thought about in decades, but this is a true story. I had a good friend from my bachelor degree days. Very nice guy. Love him. We're still in touch. And I remember we met each other when we were in our 20s. I was doing my bachelor's degree. And one day we met and we were both, I believe, 33. No, in fact, I think I'm a little bit older. I was 33 and he was like 31. And he actually asked me something to the effect of, are you starting to feel like your body is not the same, like it's letting you down a little bit? And I was listening and not understanding those words. Yes. I was 33 years old at the peak of my, not even at the peak of my powers. I mean, it was what? But I mean, those ways of thinking are not particularly conducive
Right.
to
If I can
improving.
add to that, because I forget that people get up and are sore, because I don't have body aches anymore. I don't go to the chiropractor anymore. I used to. I don't need physical therapy. I haven't been injured in 25 years. And for me, that's motivation. And when I don't want to go to the gym, I went last night, it was all rainy. I said, this is my preventive injury training. It's my assurance and insurance. And it has worked for me, because when I run down the mountains after hiking and, I can slip and fall like I did this morning, I catch myself and I don't feel aches the next day after I'm very, very active. And people ask me like, oh, do you wake up and feel like, some kinks in the morning? And I said, no, I didn't even think about it. Like, no, it hasn't occurred to me. And I'm thinking it doesn't have to be that way. But so many people start going, yeah, I'm starting to feel my back is aching. I'm like, that's not a reality that enters my mind. If anything, it would be a motivation to have that stop, because it's entirely possible.
Well, that's very heartening to hear. I'm happy to share. I think I'm older than you, and I also don't live in that reality, which I was attributing it to my Feldenkrais practice, but it's all the things that we experience. But one thing I do want to mention, I love team sports. The Golden State Warriors, I'm a fan. I'm even very shamefully will say I'm a fan of the San Francisco 49ers. It's a very violent game, but what can I do? Those athletes are very strong, very big, and they get injured a lot. Not just in football, but in basketball, in baseball, in everything. I believe one of the core, no pun intended here, strategies to minimize, injury, because injury in this context could cost millions and could give a heartache to 10 million people whose biggest star is now down with injury. So I believe flexibility and mobility and symmetry, all the things we're talking about, agility, are something that every one of the superstars we look at is engaged in every day. People like LeBron James and Steph Curry, despite the super expensive, top of the line trainers and doctors that the team gives them, spend millions of their own money every year on their own training. So, that's why LeBron at age 38 is operating like an all-star. And Steph Curry, at 34 seems to be reaching his peak. I mean, so people have realized that even in track, look at Tom Brady. I don't remember if he's 45 or 46 already, but I mean, the envelope is being pushed all the time. And I think at the core of it, once again, no pun intended, is mobility, flexibility, symmetry, agility. So those are exactly the things that you're talking about.
And entirely lifestyle, because there's your lifestyle, which is your routine, and then it's the style by which you live. And if you can put more space between the density of the body, because if you have strength to accommodate each of the vertebrae, or strength to support keeping the joints fluid and flexible like a hinge, then the body does not age, because you keep the strength and the expansion, the fluidity and the malleability. We're not just beings going forward and backward, side to side. It's how do we orchestrate the rotation, the flexibility, the up and the down, and all these directions. And as I was just thinking, that I had a client who said to me, Janel, I just went to the doctor, and she was 67 years old. And she said, how is this possible? My doctor said that I grew a half inch. And I said, of course you did. because that's exactly what you're doing. You're not just doing flexibility, but you're putting strength there to keep the expansion of your body. So there's no reason we need to shrink as we age.
Well, it makes perfect sense to me. They say that at night, when we sleep, we're about 1.5 inches taller, just because the space between our vertebrae is there because we are laying down. There's a lot of space there. If you're moving and you're instead of just you'll gain
right,
half.
But you need to have the strength to maintain the space, and that's something that other modalities have not implemented and integrated.
Well, Janel, this is very intriguing, and I hope that our viewers and listeners will find it a great resource. I know I'm only starting to scratch the surface, but it seems quite intriguing and useful. I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. It was really very eye-opening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adiel. It was a joy and pleasure.
Thank you for joining me today for the second part of our amazing interview. If you didn't catch part 1, don't miss out. The link is in the description below for you. And be sure to click the subscribe button for more videos.